The Machine Lords are watching you, John.
Machine Lord is always watching us all, Thomas. And welcome to Geeks and Gaijins, everyone. I'm the Gaijin John.
I'm the Geek Tom.
And we have a third person in the imaginary studio today.
Hello, my name is Jardo. This is really awkward.
Is it?
Welcome to the podcast.
Yes, hello everyone, my name's Jardo. I'm the guest this week. I did my homework. I listened to last week's podcast. So I had a few questions from that podcast.
Ooh.
I've taken some notes.
Okay, throw them at us.
My first question was, I noticed Thomas was swearing just a little bit and that there was bleeping. My question is, where is the line? So if I just start can we work out where you will bleep me and where you won't bleep me? That sounds like a lot of work.
This is the Machine Lord of which we talk about, or which is Editing John. It is essentially a beast that even I do not know of, who is the me from tomorrow.
Well, I'm about to give him a lot of work, I think. And also, I should say I'm Australian, so
Really? I could not tell.
it's Australian culture to just constantly swear, so maybe I'm going to give Editing John a pretty hard...
Don't worry. No, lies. Who said that?
No.
Definitely not me, because Editing John got rid of it. Oh.
Time travel, baby.
Yeah, and speaking of time travel, I've been playing too much Animal Crossing today.
That was a question I had. I am also an Animal Crossing person. I played the balls out of Animal Crossing New Leaf. But I recently discovered, and this was a split in the community, do you time travel or do you not time travel in Animal Crossing?
I will say, especially because in Japan it's just been a 3-day weekend for Animal Crossing, because it's, for those who don't know, it's based on a calendar system. So each new day, stuff will have to wait till the next day. Because I had a free weekend to play through it, I time traveled a bit at the beginning just so I could get all the basics. Because in the new game, you can't access all of your islands straight away. You have to wait to get 2 pieces of equipment, the stick and the ladder. And those are all about 2 or 3 days in. I just basically time traveled to get those done and to get the museum up and running, because that's my favorite part of the game. But now I'm playing it naturally.
I only ever played Wild World, and I was a young'un back when I did, so I didn't know about time travel when I actually played any Animal Crossing. But looking back, if I'd known about time travel, I would have abused the hell out of it, because there is nothing to do in Animal Crossing after the first 10 minutes. So
That's pretty much my answer as well. I played New Leaf, but I didn't even have an idea that you could cheat in big air quotes in that sort of way you could time travel. So I was very much, I can't play this game anymore. See you tomorrow.
It's just it takes a long time to set up the game, and especially because it limits you so much on the first day, as in you can literally only go to about a third of your island.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, well, it depends on the island layout you choose, and you don't know that they're going to limit you to not be able to visit the entire island when you choose that bit. So it's just this is fun, but I want to play more of the game. And
have all this free time.
Exactly. I do slightly believe that the people who are you can't time travel are people who are either still in university or don't have some kind of everyday job. But when I have 3 days straight in which I can relax and play video games, I don't want to be told after 20 minutes, no, you can't play this game anymore till tomorrow. I only have a limited number of days.
Yeah, I'm very goal-oriented, so having time travel available to me in Animal Crossing is appealing. But I recognise that you've got 2 different markets that you're appealing to with Animal Crossing. Those who want to play something a bit more like a management or a life sim, and then those who just want the aesthetic of just sort of dropping in every now and then, seeing how things are going. But personally, it's a bit like an idle game on my phone where I can only play so much, and then I have to put it down and let it do its own thing, and that's kind of just not what I want a game to do. So it doesn't appeal to me in particular.
So I haven't got a Switch, so I've been able to pick up Animal Crossing, yeah, but like it's all everyone I know around here is talking about. So I feel like out of the loop. It makes me sad.
I feel like it has been established that most of the Westerners who are in Japan are massive nerds.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. I told you already about this, John, but like I'll fill in Thomas on my brilliant ideas for my town name if I was to actually pick up Animal Crossing.
Oh, yes, please.
So I've got 2 imaginary villages in my mind. I've got one, it's like a beautiful blue and pink pastel village. Tied
Nice.
full
nice.
trees and sakura blowing everywhere. It's called Whisperwind, and it's like a storybook tale. And the other story idea I have, it's a brown, orange, and black and grey brutalist metropolis of pollution and anarchy everywhere. And I'm calling this place Taintberg. And I was thinking, which do I go with? If I got this game, would I make Whisperwind or would I make Taintberg? So I had the brilliant idea. Well, actually, my friend gave me. Why don't I just have like one on one side of the river and the other on the other side of the river? I can Whisperwind and Taintberg. I can have Taintwind.
No!
Welcome to sunny Taintwind.
Don't ever call it that, please.
Oh dear. This is a family show, ladies and gentlemen. No, it's not. But
I think you're one of the few people, Jarko, that have gone into Animal Crossing going, I want to make a dystopia out of this place. It's not the usual market.
everyone except Tom Nook himself all keeps you as eternal wage slaves.
But he's nice about it. You can just pay it back whenever.
It's a landlord that actually does something as well. He builds your house real quick. So
Because you can never leave, Thomas.
that is true. I can kick everyone else out, though, which is much better, I would say. It's like leaving, but without actually any of the effort.
So shall we start the actual podcast, guys?
Was this not the podcast?
I don't know. Yes. Jardo, do you have any more questions?
No, just comments.
Oh,
I
Will we not be taking any criticism at this time? Thank you.
this is a dangerous section.
I can't believe I just wrote this down verbatim. I can't believe I just learned about the connection between Japan and Scotland, and that it is batter. They both love popping things in batter.
That and whiskey.
Tempura and Mars bars and whiskey. Oh, I'm there. The only other comment I had is, yeah, Thomas sounds like the ghost of Total Biscuit. I just had to write that down.
That's a lot of responsibility to put on my shoulders, but I'll carry on the legacy as best I can.
F's in the chat. F's in the chat.
F's, press F's to pay respect. We are all in jokes right now, and I am thoroughly for it. So, we have you on the podcast for a reason. Well, not particularly, but mostly you have lived in Japan much longer than I have.
Well, not much longer. I am your senpai, but yeah. Oh god, I gave myself chills.
Thomas, these terms are actually used unironically, and
Yes, they do actually have me.
they are used in official government documents, well, official emails that we get sent.
Yes, I've been here since April 2018.
Oh.
I've been here since August 2019, so you've got a good year and a bit on me.
It doesn't feel like I've been here for 2 years. Yeah, it's gone quickly.
I feel like it's gone quickly for me as well, except the fact I edit this podcast every week, so I know how many weeks it is just by counting.
That's a good idea. Just having a weekly habit, yeah.
Well, habit. Compulsion. But Japan is famous for many things. Many things. But one of the things it's famous for in the West is card games. Specifically, children's card games.
Children's card games on motorcycles.
No motorcycles.
I was lied to.
Though I did buy a bicycle on the weekend, so that's exciting.
You're not allowed to play Yu-Gi-Oh on your bicycle, John.
No, you're not. You're not allowed.
You're allowed. It's not advised.
No one's going to stop you, per se.
I'm just.
Gravity will stop you.
Japanese bike police pull you over, sir.
Those exist. Those exist.
Like bikes and cars are classified under like the same classification of things in Japan. If you get drunk and you hop on your bike, you can like get in big trouble. We're like warned not to do that. Sure doesn't help stop people. That rule does not stop people. I've had very drunk people on bikes.
That and only children under the age of 13 have to wear a helmet. So it's just, you see like some people going at like, well, not extremely fast speeds in like just normal t-shirts. And it's just like, that's going to go badly at some point.
How are the bike lanes and stuff in Japan? Are they well done, or are they more like how Britain does bike lanes, which is not at all?
It's not as bad as the UK, I will say that. Because the UK, I felt like I would be murdered every time I was on a bicycle. But especially my city here, pedestrians and bicycles share a lot of the same lanes, apart from on very small roads. So usually you're not in the same area as cars.
But you are in the same area as pedestrians.
Yeah, but don't hit the pedestrians.
That's not as bad for you, but yeah. Sadly, my own experience with bike lanes are either in the UK or in the Netherlands, and those are two very wildly different ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I'm just imagining Japan kind of in the middle of those. Kind of.
That's nice.
Yeah, the kind of like true neutral middle zone.
But yes, card games.
Card games.
It's very famous for both Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon card games, even though I don't think anyone ever knew how to play the Pokemon card game.
There are no rules. You cannot play it correctly. You just play your Charizard and you do 100 damage. And...
Apparently, it's something to do with flipping over cards. Like I think I tried to look up how to play it once, but no. So card games. Both me and Thomas are very much into the game Magic the Gathering, which, if you don't know, is one of the granddaddies of them all. It is one of the original card games, but it is also noticeable for being from America. It's not from Japan. However, Jardo, you have been playing and even started a Magic the Gathering habit in Japan.
Yes. I did not play Magic the Gathering at all in Australia. I picked it up in Japan. And basically that means like about half of all of my cards are in Japanese and half of are in English. And I can and like I say to myself, I can use these to learn Japanese, but I do not. I have a database of knowledge of what these cards do in my head by the picture and the symbols on it. And then that's all. You would learn some really weird Japanese if you learned from cards. Death touch.
So is there like a large Magic the Gathering community in Japan, or is it still fairly small? How'd you wander into this?
Yeah, so I got roped in by other junkies, I would say, in the local area, who are also foreigners.
That sounds about right.
Junkies is the technical term for Magic the Gathering players, can confirm.
And yeah, I'm not in a big city. I'm in the capital of this prefecture, but this prefecture is notably the prefecture with the smallest population in all of Japan, because I'm from the capital of Tottori, which is also Tottori City.
Oh wow, what an inventive name.
I would classify this as like it's about the same size as my city back home in Australia, which is to say quite small. But the card game community here is, I would say, thriving. Yeah, very popular. And it's for Magic the Gathering, it's for Yu-Gi-Oh! It's for Duel Masters, which is the game Wizards of the Coast makes to appeal to the Japanese audience. So
I didn't know that was a thing.
It is. I think I had some of the cards when I was in the UK and very small.
It was briefly a thing Duel Masters was, in the same time like the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime was. There was an anime to go along with it. But outside of Japan, it was kind of abandoned. But in Japan, especially with like younger kids, very popular still.
Because it uses a mana mechanic.
It's like baby's first Magic the Gathering kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you're at home and you're like, what is this Magic the Gathering card game? Most basic thing is every turn you play a card called a land, and you then use the lands as resources to play other cards.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
It's a little more complicated.
Yes, but you also call lands mana. So each turn you play hopefully cards that cost more and more mana.
Yeah. It's a natural way for the game to gate the effects. Yeah.
That's very compared to something like Yu-Gi-Oh, which might be a card game that people are familiar with that doesn't use a mana system at all. It's just how fast you can put the cards on the board.
Pretty much.
How much of your paycheck would you say goes on Magic the Gathering cards?
That's not.
Oh. Too much. I'm happy saying too much.
Yes, because junkie is really the technical term. So how do you find playing with, like, essentially playing the hipster card game? You're playing the hipster foreign card game.
Yeah. And when you say the granddaddy of them all, it really is like it's the precursor. And I see other games, and I'm like, either like digital games like Hearthstone and the Pokemon game as well. You can see how they've learned lessons from what Magic's done. It's really the precursor. You can see like the lineage through all of it. Yeah, it's very interesting. When I go to the local like card game shop every Friday night for Friday Night Magic, there will be a show of like 10 people there. And luckily for me, because I got to get my fix, the COVID-19 occurrence that's happening right now hasn't actually stopped people wanting to play Magic the Gathering at all in person.
I will say that I believe Magic cards are somehow a social distancing all in themselves.
Yes, I'll go to that shop and it'll be like 6 Japanese dudes, and there's a circle of regular faces that I'll see every week, and then 3 or 4 foreigners as well. Yeah, it's a good way to broaden your social circle, talk to people you wouldn't usually talk to, learn some Japanese. I know how to say, put that card in the exile zone in Japanese. The most useful thing I've ever learned.
I imagine that comes up all the time in conversation now.
I believe it depends what kind of deck you play, but sure. Would you say how difficult it is, like, finding new cards or new people to play with? Because I can imagine it might be quite difficult to, like, add new people to introduce to Magic, especially when its competitors have such a big kind of home advantage, as it were. Right.
And a barrier we have to entry is the fact that it's all in Japanese.
Yeah.
A lot of the cards are. So it's very inaccessible if you just show someone who has like an okay intermediate level of Japanese. You show them all these weird words and all these mechanics. It's like another layer of difficulty.
Yeah.
But luckily for us, the shop here, you can get packs in both English and Japanese. And, you know, when I say a group of 10 will come to the shop as like the regulars, we've also got like the orbiters that come sometimes, and the people who are like still only getting their first taste. You're trying to rope them in.
That's dangerous.
It is. One thing I noticed about like Japanese people, like the otaku culture thing of people find the things that they're interested in and they get like super into them, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And it's like with Magic the Gathering, it was like kind of infectious for me. I was surrounded by people who are really excited, and I show them a card and they're already talking about like this card and this card and this card go well with it, and they're all brainstorming. It's a really infectious energy. And give me a month and I'm drowning in cards. Half my room, which is already quite small, is just covered in cards. I'm already too far gone.
There's no helping him now. No, thank you for sharing that with us, because I think it's really fun, because we obviously have experience in like the UK and to a smaller extent the US of like, oh yeah, the kind of Dungeons and Dragons kind of nerdy thing, but it's still very much it's still very much the what is a Magic, what is the Gathering,
When we had a Magic the Gathering club at our high school, obviously people would have assumed we were learning how to do illusions rather than playing card games.
That's funny.
Which would have been a little bit more impressive at parties. Now that I think about it, but sadly no.
I don't know. Swinging for game on turn 4, though, Thomas. God, I'm such a nerd.
You're actively producing a podcast about living in Japan and Japanese otaku culture, John. I think this has long been established. This is not a surprise to anyone.
It's just the self-realization journey I'm going on.
That's what this is all about.
If you're ever in town, John, I've got just a thing. You want to buy some cards? You want to crack a pack? Just one.
Oh, dear. No, not the.
Kajita's wares if you have coin.
Oh dear, I do have too much.
Just one
coin.
draft. Just one draft. It's fine.
Just one pack.
To be honest, that's probably better because I have been like half thinking, oh, what should I do with my free time? And I was very casually looking at Warhammer 40k models, which is
just casually getting a loan.
If there's anything worse than Magic the Gathering, it is Warhammer 40k.
That's a funny story, actually. One of my friends, also from the he used to live in Tottori, and he finished his contract here, and he got another job in Kyoto. He moved to Kyoto instead. So he sold a lot of his Magic cards because, the reason he played was to play with us. So he was like, I won't be able to play with you guys anymore, so I'll just start selling them and putting them on. And he's recently started getting back into Magic again because there's a community down in Kyoto he wants to play with. And
nice.
He's started getting into Warhammer because there's a really big Warhammer scene in Kyoto.
No way.
And every time I met that
awesome.
man, he was really, really, really broke. So he will not mind me saying that. Yeah.
To be honest, though, thinking a military-themed war game with very expensive models is actually perfect for the Japanese market. I don't know how I didn't see this before. It's literally everything all in one, and also originally from Leeds in the United Kingdom. That's where Games Workshop is from.
It's a very British dark sci-fi series. It's fantastic.
Which also, if you don't pay attention to, and if you do take it seriously, can accidentally glorify fascism. Which is
yes, if you only get the surface level, it's like, wait, this is all very fascist, and then you realise, oh, it's because everything's awful.
Yeah.
Prohibitively expensive, though, so I would advise against getting into Warhammer unless you have an absurd amount of disposable income.
Absurd, ludicrous monies. And on that note, I think it's time to have a Japanese snack break with guest. Dun dun dun.
I don't know how well this sounds. This horrible crinkly noise.
Oh, it's better than my crinkly noises.
Oh. So
crinkles.
Last episode when I heard the snack time segment, I was like, did this suddenly become an ASMR podcast? What's going on? And then Tom was like intentionally not talking so that you could cut it out when you're making those slurpy noises.
Yeah. Nope, they're coming. Those are staying.
Listen, the snack break sections of these podcasts are the Wild West. There's no telling what will happen when you start them up. Maybe it'll be an ASMR section. Maybe I'll start screaming about politics. Who knows what's going to happen?
Why not both?
It depends entirely on how awful John has made his meal sound. So,
okay, I do have a backup here, but Jardo, you do the good one. You do your good one first.
So, I have a sampling of Kinoko no Yama, which is a Japanese chocolate cookie treat. It's basically shaped like a mushroom, and you've got like a cookie with the head of the mushroom being chocolate or a different flavor as well. And particularly, and they're very small and bite-sized, and you get like 50 in a little box. And they're everywhere. You can get them from any convenience store, which is what I did. But if you wanted to have a conversation with a Japanese person, for some reason,
why would you want to do that? That doesn't make any sense.
one thing you can always get an opinion on is whether they like Kinoko no Yama or Takenoko no Sato. You can ask them which one they like. They are two functionally identical candies. The difference is in the texture, and they're made by the same company, same chocolate, same cookie. But every Japanese person will have an opinion on which one they like better. And I believe like last year or 2 years ago, the company did like an election to have like a nationwide vote to see, basically a giant publicity stunt, to see which one was officially more popular. And they like made a new flavor for the one that won. And my one won.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go
This
team.
This is sounding slightly like Walker's Crisps in the United Kingdom, which are chips elsewhere in the world. Because we call
in Australia we would call them Smith's chips instead of Walker's Crisps.
I think they're also called Lays elsewhere in the world as well.
Yeah.
We have some very popular strange flavors, including prawn cocktail. And yeah, no, I'm with you on that one. I despise prawn cocktail flavored crisps.
I think I only know about them because the EU tried to ban them, or like Boris said that the EU tried to ban them.
With good reason. They're disgusting.
It was nonsense. So
yeah, no, it's that and
everything here sounds like.
It's that and there was roast beef flavored and also roast chicken flavored crisps as well.
Yeah.
But no. So what flavor I can't remember how you said it. Kiyotoyama?
You're nailing it.
Yeah.
I did write it down for you.
Never. That would imply that I read something and prepared beforehand, Jardo.
We weren't joking when you said you were the most prepared member of this.
Yeah, we really weren't. Everything is editing magic. Kinoko no Yama.
Nailed it. Perfect.
Yeah, I didn't read anything.
I have the plain Jane milk chocolate flavored Kinoko no Yama. But they have if you go to Don Quixote, which is a popular like supermarket chain. I think supermarket is too kind to call what Don Quixote is.
It's like a posh thrift store.
But back up a second. They named it Don Quixote.
Yeah, and it has a penguin in a bobble hat as its mascot.
What?
And it's like most famously, people would say, "Oh, I'm just gonna donkey and pick something up," because that's how you like truncate the name
into
donkey.
donkey.
Obviously, that makes a lot of sense.
But essentially,
a posh thrift shop.
To try and put it in perspective, it's like the level above a pound store or a dollar store or 100 yen shop. It is the level
like an Aldi or a Lidl.
But you can buy like a TV or a blender or a sofa.
Or champagne. Or
champagne. Or your groceries.
Or Nintendo Switch. Or a full-sized life-sized painting of My Neighbor Totoro.
And like you can buy like one of those really cheap like Halloween costumes that looks like it's gonna fall apart or it's like covered in plastic dust.
Oh.
It is, yeah.
It's a variety store of misery.
And it's called Don Quixote.
Yeah,
Marvelous.
it's the kind of place you go to and go, why don't I have one of those? And if you do end up buying that, you go, I realise why I didn't have one of those.
Yeah, it has everything you don't need.
Yeah, pretty much.
So there was a reason I brought up Don Quixote. Is Don Quixote, at least in my city, has like an aisle of Kinoko no Yama and Takenoko no Sato. You can choose any range of flavor. You can get like green tea and vanilla and so many different flavors. And they specifically have like a section called Adult Kinoko no Yama.
This is
Where they have like, where they have.
Hold on. Are they asking me to the cookies? What's going on here?
Where they have like refined flavors for grown-up palates,
Oh,
like
the
dark
fancy
chocolate
cookies.
or strawberry or something.
What? How is strawberry? When did strawberry become an adult flavor? It's
I'll be honest,
This is known.
I've never actually bought an adult Kinoko no Yama. I don't know.
Do you have to show ID or something?
It's-
Yes,
Like,
officer. I am 18 or over.
So, how do milk chocolate Kinoko no Yama taste?
I think the closest comparison of the chocolate would be to Kinder Surprise, I guess.
Oh, nice.
Like a big
very
dollop
sweet
of
then.
Kinder Surprise chocolate. Yeah, quite sweet. But I think we definitely lose American listeners by saying Kinder Surprise because it's illegal in their country.
Oh yeah. Though so is good chocolate. So
A generous dollop of milky, sweet Kinder Surprise chocolate on top of like a stem of crunchy cookie in
Yeah,
like
it's
a
almost-
bite-sized little chunk.
yeah, it's like almost like a more cakey kind of pocky almost.
Yeah.
That sounds really nice and a really good snack compared to the absolute atrocity that I have in front of me. Yes, they're laughing because they know what this is. This
We
is
have seen the pictures and it's terrible. It's
But you can-
just...
that you can find on our Instagram under the Gaijin John. This
Good point.
is
Carry on.
a sorry, I'll find my packet. This is a rongu stick, a long stick, a softer franzipan ni strawberry jam pour marmalade. Marmalade? Margarine. I wish it was marmalade. Yes, this is the most depressing looking jam and margarine sandwich that is in a long stick French bread that is as just... It's the most depressing sandwich I think I've seen ever. And I live in the United Kingdom that is the king of depressing sandwiches. I did.
I think we own the entirety of the depressing adjective, so...
Yeah, it cost me a whole 60 yen, which,
It looks about 60 yen. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
it was, for those at home, that is around 60 pence, about 50 US cents, maybe
Or
about
300 Australian dollars. Dollary doos. $300 doos. I'm sad now.
It's funny. It's funny because the economy is collapsing.
It's actually great for me because all of my money is tied up in Magic the Gathering cards and and both those are like trailing upwards, so I'm in the money.
That's a sound investment.
You've heard it, guys. Buy Magic the Gathering cards.
And Japanese yen, it's a very stable currency.
Pretty much they're the same thing at this point. Card games, Japanese yen. I paid for this with half a Charizard. Well, no, sorry, about a third of a Charizard. It wasn't shiny though, so they had tens of them.
Screw the rules, I have green land.
But no, I'm going to try and eat this. Now, it is terrible. I'm not...
Yes. Go on.
But
it sounds like there was a butt coming, yeah. What could you find
Like-
butt?
the jam is actually like... It's a very specific style of jam. It's the Japanese style of jam, which is quite sweet. But because there's not a lot of it, but it actually tastes nice and fruity because there is not any of it. All the rest of it is absolute trash. But if you put this jam on maybe something more pleasant, that might be okay, but there's such a thin sliver of jam. It's
Ugh.
no, I'm not. I usually, even if the thing is like, I'm not all for it, I usually eat most of the stuff that I bring on snack break, but I don't think this is getting a second bite, let alone a clean plate.
Oh no.
Oh dear.
How's that
The
chocolate
rare-
cookie by comparison, Jardo?
Oh. I'm like halfway through the box. Trying to stop me.
Don't
Good,
stop
good.
me now. We're having such a podcast.
Do you have a Danganronpa character rating for your sad
Oh,
baguette?
that is a cook out of Danganronpa 2 out of 10.
Oh, damning criticism right there. I will not go into why. But that's very damning criticism.
Yeah, we do play Danganronpa on our Twitch stream. We might have Jardo as a guest at one point because he knows all the games even much better than I do. And
Even Ultra Despair Girls.
oh wow, that's dedication.
Wait, what is that? I
It's
have to loop on all this.
I don't believe I'm about to hijack the snack segment with Danganronpa Ultra Despair Girls.
No, go for it.
It
It's,
sounds like half of the course for snack break. Go for it.
So Danganronpa is the Japanese visual novel about high schoolers trapped in a killing game in a place.
And in a high school.
Yeah, in a high school. Well, in the yes.
Oh, well,
yeah.
You're very
And-
subtle about all this. You're all very good at hiding all these secrets from me, I have to say.
And Danganronpa, another episode, Ultra Despair Girls,
Ultra Despair Girls.
is a third-person shooter for the PlayStation Vita, starring the younger sister of the main character of the first game. It sounds like I'm doing a
Okay.
Mad Libs, but I'm
Yeah,
not.
because this game is a visual novel, guys. This is a visual novel with a third-person shooter spin-off.
Can you tell me what the third-person shooter is shooting?
No, he can't because that's a spoiler, and Thomas hasn't got that far through the game yet.
Okay, so it's... Okay. Does it feature any other cast members or members related to the original casts of the Danganronpas, or is it just
We just
Maybe.
told
one character?
Maybe.
we just told you the sister of the main character that we love, who appears in a picture of the original game.
Oh, she does too.
Last time I saw her, it been implied that she'd been kidnapped and or brutally murdered, so...
But you can assume that for all characters in Danganronpa, though. It's that kind of game.
Until proven otherwise, all characters are dead, yes.
Ooh, it's actually the afterlife. It's Lost.
Or
And
whatever happened in Lost.
Yeah, and talking of terrible, terrible series to binge watch, we're on to our next section. Like Lost.
Hey.
Speaking of
Oh,
that,
what a smooth segue.
so I
Smooth
had
as that sad margarine in your French pan.
don't remind me. Lots of people I will go for an unexplained reason, or as we shall call in Danganronpa phrase, the incident. No, wait. What's the Danganronpa phrase for like the event? Do they just call it?
It's like the deepest, darkest, most horrible, despair-inducing incident that ever happened in the world, and 10 other words.
Yeah. So that we
That
will
sounds right, yeah. I believe you on that one.
that we will not name. Many people are staying inside at the moment, and therefore Netflix is downgrading its streaming quality because it can't deal with you.
Yeah.
It's your fault, guys. But at the moment,
480p Netflix and chill.
oh yeah. So what they have just released in Thomas had a good term for this coined.
Oh, Americanime?
Americanime of the Castlevania series based on the popular video game that also I realized hasn't had like a video game release in the last 10 years.
They had those they had that strange spin-off series that was like a third-person hack and slash. What was it, Lords of Shadows or something? Yeah, Konami's been sitting on this for ages.
In the nicest way, I'm not in any way a fan of the series. I really do not trust those. Also, the last one of those came out in 2014, and there was an anniversary collection which does not count that came out in 2019. So literally,
other than that, pachinko machines.
Oh, Konami.
yeah, the last traditional Castlevania series game came out was in 2010, and that was Castlevania Harmony of Despair.
Which sounds like a Danganronpa game.
Yeah, no, though to be honest, Castlevania does have all of those kind of subtitles. There is a Netflix series, a very popular animated Netflix series, and its third season has just been released. So, I will not go into spoilers, but both me and Thomas have binged watched the third season.
Yes!
And we both have rather contrasting opinions.
Yeah, I think we both understand the same basic principles. It's just we're interpreting them slightly differently, all things considered.
And one of us is right.
Yes.
Fight. Yes.
Yeah, there's only one way to find out.
We need some intense Danganronpa, like split decision music in the background.
No, that's the countdown music.
Why do I know that? Oh.
It's
Because-
universal. Everyone knows the countdown theme.
Because British culture is everywhere. It is
Oh, yes.
somehow
Fish and chips and countdown.
yeah,
And the
pretty much.
Queen. We're finished.
Time for countdown and chill. Oh dear.
That will be some people. That will be.
Oh,
That's
dear.
the retirement homes for you. That's not great.
Oh dear.
Anyway, moving on to something slightly less disturbing.
Yes.
Castlevania.
Yes. Of which it has got better from the first two seasons. Basically, some of the writing is a lot better this season. The fight choreography is amazing as always. The actual the voice acting has got a lot better. The actual, like, they've either got actual people who are used to doing voice work, and the original people who weren't used to doing voice work have got much better after doing it for two series.
And each season of Castlevania so far has gotten a couple of extra episodes than the previous ones. So I remember the first season being 4 episodes, season 2 was 8 episodes, and season 3 had 10 this time around.
And I will say that season 3 does actually feel like you could put all the interesting stuff into 4 episodes.
Yeah, I don't think the extra 2 episodes of Castlevania help. But shall we set up the whole show a little bit more?
Yeah, so
What's the summary we want to?
I only know this very cursed. Like, I think I saw like the first trailer when they were first teased, and like I'm taking this as a kind of, is this thing worth watching kind of perspective in the show, and I wish I had like a face cam of the amount of like squinting and like, hang on, what did he just say? That I'm getting in response to your guys' explanation
Fair
of this
enough.
show.
How about we explain what the series in general is about? So, the first 2 seasons of Castlevania were dedicated to Vlad Dracula unleashing the forces of hell across a sort of semi-fantasy medieval Europe to get revenge for the church murdering his wife for being a witch.
Yes.
And so we followed the adventures of Trevor Belmont, the last descendants of a house of monster slayers, Cypher, a magician who joins him at the end of the first season, and Alucard, the son of Dracula, and their quest to murder Dracula in order to stop all the demon hordes from killing everybody. Fairly simple save the world plot.
yeah, and Alucard is half human, half vampire.
Castlevania is a very dark fantasy series with lots of gore and violence and witty dialogue.
Yes, witty in inverted commas dialogue.
It did say a lot that when I looked it up on Netflix, it's like tags was like fantasy and adventure and gore.
Yeah, there's a lot of it, but it's not like excessive.
No. And it just, It basically started as an American-style experiment to see if they could do animation, basically Japanese-style animation, which they could. However, the voice acting and writing in the first season was terrible. Was absolutely terrible. They spent all their money on getting on the animation and a really good voice actor to play Dracula. And
Which worked out really well for the show, to be honest.
yes, it did. But so they got Richard Armitage, who is a really fun actor who I love, to play Trevor, and you can tell in the first few series he is not a natural voice actor.
Right, because that requires a very different sort of skill set to interact, and like you'll be in the room by yourself as well. And actors don't necessarily make good voice actors.
No, exactly. The one thing I will say about the third season is when you do have people like Bill Nighy. Notably, I love this fact, is that Bill Nighy, one of his first roles was as in the BBC radio adaptation of The Lord of the Rings. He is the original Samwise Gamgee.
Oh
Wow.
my god.
Yeah, and the thing is, that version of Lord of the Rings is so totally like, people go, oh, that's just a weird, nerdy fact. The main character who plays Frodo in that is Ian Holm, the man who plays Bilbo in the film versions.
Ah,
Wow.
cool.
So Peter Jackson fully, also those things are great as a radio nerd, but just to show, Bill Nighy has a good tenure. I just wish his character had something to do, because that is a bad set of the third season that I'm going to stop going on about. But essentially, not a lot changes between the beginning of the third season and the end of the third season. All the characters are almost in exactly the same place. I just hope the fourth series is better.
Yeah, a lot of what happens to the main cast of like good guys, it seems like side quests to keep them busy whilst the bad guys set up for next season or even the season after that. Because whilst Trevor, Cypher, and Alucard just kind of get more miserable and haven't really made any progress towards any particular direction by the end of the season, at least Isaac and Hector are in slightly different places than where they were. Not that I'm all that keen on how Hector ended up where he is, but
Yeah,
it was fun to watch.
it did, but it felt like a season that had much less of a point to it than season 1 and 2.
Well, yeah, I was just thinking that after season 2, which was kind of had a bunch of build up to it, and it was like the big moment of, killing Dracula, which is always a big deal.
Killing Dracula in Castlevania?
Yeah, you either have the choice of trying to top that immediately, which is a tall order to do, or you spend the time to be a little bit more character focused and set up for another big event. I was very worried that they might try and pull Dracula back into season 3 at one point. Luckily, they knew better than to go, oh, hey, this season's all about bringing Dracula back, because that would have been pretty sad straight after season 2.
But they also don't really build up anything for the main character, apart from a great line by Bill Nighy, which I hope isn't a spoiler, but is just the line, all this for bloody Tepesh.
That is pretty good. It's not the best Bill Nighy line, but the best Bill Nighy line is basically only fantastic because of context, which is they wanted to meet someone famous who'd seen toilet paper. To which the judge replies, what the f*** is toilet paper?
Oh, that's very topical.
Exactly. I was
right
like,
now.
They didn't even know what they were doing, but it works.
This semi-post-apocalyptic Europe fighting demons is somehow reflective of our current day. Oh, that's terrifying. But with our final minutes, because this has been a long podcast, but we have a guest, so we have permission from me. Is there anything that you can recommend for the peeps at home who are stuck watching Netflix, who don't want to watch a series that me and Thomas both have mixed opinions about? Though please watch it and share your opinions with us, and then realize how we are right and you are wrong.
So I don't know, and this really hit me when I was listening to the last podcast you guys did, callback, where John was talking about the plant that they used to plant near rivers to like the red plant that used to.
Yeah, the Japanese spider lily.
It made me realize, like, wow, even like I was a huge weeb before I came to Japan, but when I came to Japan, I kind of shed a lot of that. Because I don't actually watch a lot of anime anymore. So I'm looking at my Netflix and I'm like, I watched BoJack Horseman. That's an animated show.
That is anime. You heard it here first, guys. BoJack Horseman is anime.
Oh, I do not want that on my rap sheet. I don't want people lynching me.
It's on the internet now, Jardo. That's all you can.
We've got it recorded. You can't get away from it now.
Oh dear. So I do recommend BoJack Horseman. That's a good show.
I think I have said it on the podcast before. When you work in a Japanese school, hearing people speak Japanese all the time, you are much less inclined to sit at home and go, more Japanese stuff. Though some of the stuff is really good. And I will recommend, there is good Japanese shows to watch on Netflix. I will recommend definitely recommend Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood and also the original one. Also, if you want to go full binge watch, I think all of Naruto is on UK Netflix, definitely. So if you want to sit through 200 plus episodes of Naruto, you can do that to yourself.
It might come to that. I have no way of knowing.
Yeah, there is some trash, I will say, of the Japanese stuff on Netflix. Just don't watch the Jaden Smith thing. Just don't.
Have you seen any of the Jaden Smith thing, John? Have you watched an episode of it?
Sadly, yes.
Oh God!
What are we? I'm almost scared to ask, but what's this? Do I dare search Jaden Smith?
It's called Neo Yokio, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Neo Yokio.
Right.
I have found it.
Yeah, it's essentially it is a Americanime voiced and also written by Jaden Smith, with also supporting voices including Stephen Fry.
Best buds, Jaden Smith and Stephen Fry.
Apparently so.
They're tight.
Yeah, it's an American-Japanese co-produced animated television created by Ezra Michael Koenig, who is a singer-songwriter, first of all, and also basically produced by IG Studios and Studio Dean.
Right. I need to like look at something else.
Yeah. It's hell.
I can't believe it's a real thing that I'm looking at with my eyes.
How dare you say such a thing? You don't deserve this massive Toblerone.
Oh, Christ. It has 6 episodes and a Christmas special. Also, one of the main characters is played by Jude Law.
All-star cast.
And Susan Sarandon. Oh, Christ.
It's sounding more and more like I have to see this just to confirm it's a real thing.
How can anime be real if our eyes aren't real?
Oh, perfect.
And I think on that Jaden Smith related bombshell, it's time to end the show. Thank you for joining us, Jardo. Are there any places on the internet that we can find you?
Do you want to be found?
You can find me. I have 2 Facebook pages you can find me at that I post very irregularly on because I'm a busy person in Japan, unfortunately.
Busy? Japan?
Jardo's Shame Quarantine is where you can find me posting about whatever anime or manga that I'm watching right now. And if you do not mind horrible spoilers, you can find me on Facebook under Danganronpa Ruined My Life for memes about Danganronpa that do not care about spoilers. This assumes you've played everything, including Ultra Despair Girls.
Wait, are there
Just believe I'm spoiling
relevant
that.
details in Ultra Despair Girls?
Yes.
Okay, well, sounds like we've got to follow that up after we're done with the main 3. John, get on that.
Yeah.
Ultra Despair Girls, put on the list.
Oh dear.
Oh, I'm sorry, John. I did that to you.
That's the one thing that I've tried to avoid.
For the longest time, for about like 3 or 4 or 5 years, it was like PS Vita on. I think it's on PC and PS4.
Yes, I think.
Oh,
I
boy.
reported it.
Yeah.
So I have no excuse.
Yeah, so you can find us on Geeks and Gaijins, which is on Facebook and Podbean and Spotify. I assume you found it, because otherwise, how are you listening to this? We're all updated there. We also stream on Twitch at Geeks and Gaijins, and our Instagram is the Gaijin John for all your sad baguette flavored memes. Essentially,
You do have to see this thing. Like, it is an affront.
yeah,
Seeing is
It's
believing.
worth a look.
it's yes. I think that's
It's a 60 yen baguette that looks like a 10 baguette.
10 yen baguette. Oh god. And with that, arigato gozaimashita for listening. Bye bye, guys.
Bye bye.